My 45 female husband, Tim, and I married right out of college. We had a very happy first decade of marriage, including having 2 children, Luke and Beth, who are now 21 male and 19 female. Unfortunately, he passed away 5 years ago at age 40. After Tim's passing, I was 100% focused on helping our children be as okay as possible. He was a great dad when he could be, and losing him was devastating for all of us. Lots of individual and family therapy helped, and Luke was able to graduate from high school with high honors and get a college scholarship out of state. Beth graduated last year with similar honors and is now in college several states away. With Luke and Beth now adults away from home, I can finally focus more on myself. It took me a long time, at least 3 years, after Tim's passing, before I could even think about wanting to date again. Then for the next year, I was focused on getting Beth through her last year of high school and off to college. However, once she left for school in the fall, I started to dip my toe into the dating apps. It's been slow. I probably had a dozen or so dates, mostly first dates that didn't go anywhere. There was one guy that I went out with 4 times, but we decided not to continue as we weren't feeling a more than friendship spark. So here's where the problem is. Last week, a cousin of Tim's saw me out on a date. She was in town for business and just happened to be at the same restaurant. She made a bit of a scene, coming up to the table, yelling and demanding to know what I was doing and betraying my husband, which really confused the gentleman I was out with. She stormed out and apparently called Tim's parents, who then called Luke and Beth. Now everyone is furious at me because I hadn't given a heads up that I was starting to date again. My thought was, I don't need to give the play-by-play on my dating life, especially when it might be hurtful. I figured that if I started seeing someone regularly, I would let folks know, but until then there didn't seem to be anything to tell. Especially as Tim's parents live across the country, and Luke and Beth are away at college. However, everyone involved, Tim's cousin, his parents, my kids, and assorted other relatives and friends who now know, say that I'm a huge idiot for not telling people that I was moving on. But I've been a widow for 5 years, so am I the idiot for letting people find out that I'm dating again without a proactive heads up? Not the idiot. You are a grown woman with a right to life and privacy. You owe no one the details of your life, not even your adult kids. Your late husband's cousin is a huge idiot for the scene she made. I'm sure everyone still feels the loss of your husband, but that doesn't mean they get to dictate how you live your life now. Well done for being brave. Keep going. Yeah, what's with the whole betraying your husband crap? Is she delusional? Marriage is till death do us part, is it not? You have more than every right to date, and it's nobody's freaking business. And whoever called your kids is the biggest idiot. Their misguided ownership over your private life is mistaken. The only people you're obligated to communicate with are your children, and even that's a courtesy, not to ask permission. How dare you not join a monastery, become a Buddhist monk, or go live on a mountaintop to avoid all human contact? It sounds a bit like you starting to date has burst a bubble for his family, as if they haven't quite accepted that your husband died long ago. The line about you betraying your husband is a giveaway. It's so out of line with reality. Everyone involved? You and the person you're dating are the only people involved in your dating life. And these people sound insane. Like, truly insane. If anyone said this to me, I'd never speak to them again and let them know in no uncertain terms how insane they were. Yep, his family's just looking for an excuse to make trouble for OP. There was no reason to get mad at her, dating 5 years after he died, and especially no reason to cause drama with her kids. I'm rather disgusted with them for dragging her through that. A 45-year-old woman doesn't need anyone's permission to do anything with her life. She even mentioned that these were casual dates. It's not like she was in a full-blown relationship and just not telling anyone. Her kids, really. I wouldn't really care to know about a ton of casual 1 or 2 time dates that my mom has been on. My dad died when I was 6. My mom remarried. My dad's family stayed in my and my younger sister's lives as granddaughters. Mom had 3 more children with her second husband, and my dad's family sometimes included them, but not always though. They would send them small gifts for their birthdays and Christmas. I'm now 21 and my sister's 19. Our grandfather died recently and left all his grandkids some money, as well as something of his that would remind us of him. I got a photo album that we always used to look through together, and my sister got a chain she always admired of his. He also bought and left every grandchild a pen. My half-siblings did not get included in this. My mom and her husband were not very happy. My half-siblings had been expecting something when they heard through Mom that we got something. Mom and her husband confronted my grandmother, who asked why my half-siblings would have been left anything, and explained as far as she was aware, none of my dad's family would be including them as grandchildren or nieces or nephews in inheritance. My mom thinks we should stand with our half-siblings. My sister thought it was crazy. I told my mom she had no right to expect my dad's family would have included my half-siblings. She told me, of course, she had a right. We're all still family, and that the kids have known them their whole lives. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. At the end of the day, your half-siblings are not your grandparents' responsibility, and they were only in contact with them because of you and your sister. You should ask your stepdad if his parents have included you and your sister in their will. Yeah, probably not. Your mother is absolutely unreasonable here. You don't have to share anything if you don't want to. Expecting her former in-laws to treat the children she had with another man after the passing of their son as their own grandchildren is quite rich. All the more when this is pure greediness in the wake of inheritance and not about how these people treated our children. Don't get involved. Advise your sister to avoid getting involved, and don't ever give in to pressure when you two eventually continue to receive inheritance and your mother pushes you to share it with your other siblings. I'm guessing OP's dad's side gave them birthday presents, etc., to be able to stay in OP's life. However, it wouldn't surprise me if Mom had made an ultimatum and they chose to give in rather than lose OP and Sis. And now that OP and Sis are over 18, they don't have to play that game anymore. It's a shame how often grandparents are cut out of a grandchild's life when there's a death and the daughter or son-in-law remarries. Sorry for the loss of your grandfather, and doubly sorry that your mother and siblings are exacerbating it with their greed. Background: I, 25 female, am a homely-looking girl. There's really no other way to say it. I am not hot or even pretty by most people's standards. My sister, 27, Bella, is one of the most beautiful women who has ever walked this planet. Like, got stopped on the street and in the mall multiple times while we were growing up for modeling opportunities. We have different dads. I guess she just won the genetic lottery. I was jealous of her as a kid, especially because we were always compared to one another. I'm 5'4", average body, slightly below average face. I have a facial deformity because my jaw didn't form correctly. My family has never let me forget this part of myself. I've cut most of them out of my life, but the trauma remains. I've been in therapy for family issues and self-image issues since I turned 18, but it hasn't 100% sorted itself out yet. She's 5'11", thin, and all around just really gorgeous. She's also a genuinely great person. She's humble and sweet, and even though she could have made a living off of her looks, she ended up going into social work and now works with kids in foster care. She and I are close. We see one another a bit less since she moved to a new city with her husband, but we constantly text and call. I was her maid of honor 2 years ago at her wedding. 4 months ago, my fiance, 30 male, Alan, proposed to me and I said yes. My family was excited for me, and they all like him. He and I have been together for just over 2 years. Bella and Alan are also close. We often have them over for dinner or go to their house for game nights. Now to the issue. I thought about it a lot and decided not to have Bella at my bridal party. I just wanted one day where we weren't standing side by side, being compared. I wanted to be the pretty one, standing at the altar on my day. I've gotten over my jealousy of her for the most part and accepted myself for how I look and who I am. but the thought of everyone looking at her at my wedding broke my heart. She thought she would be my maid of honor, so before I asked anyone to be in my bridal party, I went to her house to talk. I didn't want her to hear through the grapevine or social media that she wasn't my maid of honor or in my bridal party. When I went over and told her and explained my reasoning, she started to cry. She didn't get mad at me, but she said it was really hurtful that I'd excluded her because of the way she looked. I understand her point. She and I are best friends. However, she's been giving me a bit of a cold shoulder since this happened, and my parents, both our mom and each of our dads, have called me a major idiot for doing this to her, saying she's more upset than she let on, but she didn't want to taint my day with drama. She RSVP'd to the wedding invite, so I know she'll still be coming no matter what, but I do feel bad that I've excluded her just because of her looks now. So, am I the idiot? The softest "you are the idiot" I have ever bestowed. At the wedding, you would 100% be the center of attention. Nobody who cares about the people compares the bride in the way that you fear. Now the question, what happened between the sisters, will be front and center. I highly recommend you reevaluate. Great point. The last thing you want is drama during the wedding, with people expressing surprise she's not in the wedding party, especially if you two are close, OP. That's going to inspire a lot of gossiping. OP, you may, not on purpose, draw more attention to her by excluding her from your wedding party. What's next? Kicking her out of the family photos? OP's family is evidently high on the list of those comparing her to her sister. So her family is the real idiot in this story, forever even once allowing the comparison to manifest in the family home. My poor sweet grandmother, at 89 years old with dementia, talked nonstop about how her sister was always the pretty one and she was plain. It hurt her for her entire life until she passed. Don't let that be you. Don't let this come between you and your sister. Your family is toxic. Agree. You won't stop your idiot family from making comparisons by excluding your sister. In fact, I suspect that the added drama will lead to more and crueler remarks. By taking this step, you're not helping yourself, and you're hurting the sister who's always been kind to you. You'd be better off including your sister and uninviting the rest of your family. Mini update. I love my sister, and after talking with Alan, we've decided not to have bride or groom parties at all. I'll try to talk to her at some point this weekend, apologize for letting my insecurities get in the way of our relationship, and explain that I won't have any maid of honor or bridesmaids. I married my husband Mike 11 years ago. He had 2 kids from his relationship with Emma. My stepson is a teen, and my stepdaughter is a younger teen. Mike and I have 3 kids together, Theodore, Isabel, and Matilda. My stepkids' names are more out there and rare, so I won't mention them exactly, but they are word nature style names, very modern too. There's a bit of a contrast between my stepkids and bio kids' names, but my husband and I chose names we loved for our kids that we figured would age well with them. And my husband was so glad to have input because Emma chose my stepkids' names. I remember when we first brought our oldest home, my stepson made an ill comment about his name, but I was so distracted with the baby. My husband spoke to him and told me later that he found the name so different from his and reacted poorly. Up and down, I remember some comments being made by my stepkids about their siblings' names, but I always tried my best not to let it get to my kids. Recently, Mike and I learned that Emma and my stepkids have been calling the kids' names boring, dull, and ugly, saying they were suckered with bad names, and Emma telling her kids how unfortunate my kids are and how lucky they are that she named them. 2 of our 3 kids have taken to heart that their siblings don't like their names, and one of my kids said Emma tried to give them a nickname that was better than their real name. My husband was furious when he learned this. He went to speak to Emma, but she brushed him off. He told my stepkids that they were not to insult the names of their siblings, not to their faces, but not even behind their backs, because it was mean. My stepkids said that they were glad I hadn't named them because they'd rather die than be stuck with these ugly old names. A few days ago, I saw Emma while I was grocery shopping. The night before, my kids had told my husband that they and their stepmom were still talking badly about the kids' names, and I was still mad. So I went up to Emma and told her to stop talking badly about my kids' names to my stepkids, that it was something only a bully would do, and she should be better than that, and that I was not okay with her hurting my kids. She was furious and told me I had no right to speak to her, and Mike was the only one who could talk to her about my stepkids. She sent Mike a text relaying the same. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. Emma's looking for any excuse to be mean to you and your kids, it appears. Your complaint was well expressed, but do ask your husband to follow up, as Emily won't have any excuses not to talk with him. Given the age of your stepkids, your husband will have better luck dealing directly with them rather than with their mother. Dandelion and Cataract should learn how to behave decently. It seems their mother has failed to teach them manners. I think your mistake here was to address Emma yourself, not because it's wrong to speak to your stepchildren's mother, but because you already know she's unreasonable and nasty. Your husband must do this, again, and keep doing it until Pebble Dash and Moccasin, his children, learn to behave decently. Though as mid-teens, it's probably too late. Pebble Dash and Moccasin? LOL. I wonder if that's why they're being awful about the names, because they've been teased about theirs. Holy crap, what an evil person Emma is. Imagine deliberately stirring up hatred between kids just because you gave them unusual names and they felt bad about it. I, 25 female, live with my husband, 29 male, and my stepson, pre-tween. My husband has full custody of my stepson, Riley. Riley has always been a late bloomer. When I started dating my husband, Riley was a kindergartner, and he still took naps even though most children had grown out of them by then. 1 year later, he stopped needing naps during the day, except when he was sick or did a lot of physical activity. Riley also has ADHD, so do I, so I know the hyperactivity can tire children out sometimes. A few weeks ago, Riley started napping again for around an hour daily. He also began falling asleep on car rides. The length of time he napped kept increasing, and he now naps for 3 hours a day, meaning that he's asleep for 13 to 14 hours a day. I usually pick him up from school, and his teacher tells me that he's exhausted and yawning all day. I became extremely concerned, and I told my husband that Riley needed to see a doctor, but he didn't think it was serious. He thought that Riley was sleeping more because he was growing, but I was still worried. I admittedly don't know much about children, as I'm the youngest on both sides of my family, but I spoke to my parents and in-laws and searched online, and they all said it was weird. My in-laws mentioned that my husband slept a lot as a child, but not to the extent that my stepson does. However, my husband still didn't want to take Riley to see the doctor. I decided to make an appointment for Riley anyway, and he saw the doctor yesterday. The doctor was very concerned, and he arranged a blood test for the next week, and he also gave me a list of foods to cook for Riley to improve his energy levels. When I told my husband, he was angry that I had gone behind his back about his son's health care. He wants me to apologize, but I believe I acted in Riley's best interest. Most people I've spoken to have said that I was wrong because Riley isn't my son. So, am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You're a step-parent, but you're still a parent to this child and have been for 2 years. When you have a concern, even if your husband doesn't necessarily share that concern, you should be able to take the child to the doctor to have them seen. Obviously, the doctor's very concerned here and ordered blood tests. I think you need to talk with your husband about why he's so adverse to taking Riley to the doctor. Is he worried that there's something wrong with his son? Or has he had bad experiences with doctors? Is he one of those, we don't go to the doctor unless someone's dying kind of people? Yeah, I'm kind of worried that your husband thinks that going to the doctor is something you should apologize for. It's not uncommon for parents to be in denial about issues with their kids, but the fact that it's been pointed out by a doctor that there could be a problem, and your husband's focus is still on wanting to be right and demanding an apology, Your husband should be thrilled that you care so much about his child. If it helps, you can tell him you've read about constant tiredness being a potential sign of diabetes in young children because sugar in the bloodstream isn't being used to produce energy, potentially a serious health concern. Does anyone in his family have a history of diabetes? Update. He's kind of insecure about his abilities as a parent. He thinks he has to be super dad because Riley's mom isn't around, and he is one of those "we don't go to the doctor unless someone's dying" kind of people. There is a history of diabetes in my husband's family, and I didn't know that there was a link between tiredness and diabetes. Thanks for mentioning it. "17 years ago, I was engaged to a woman who became pregnant. Now, it's important to understand that I've never wanted to have children, which I'd been upfront and honest about with my fiancé then. She told me that she understood and felt the same way. We both always used protection and agreed to terminate in case of an accident. When she got pregnant, however, she refused to keep her word, and I soon learned that her promises were far less genuine than what she led me to believe. She had stopped taking birth control and purposely sabotaged our protection. Apparently, she believed I'd change my mind if it actually happened. Still, instead, I immediately broke things off, and 6 months later I moved from the East Coast to a new job on the West Coast. As I said, that was 17 years ago, and for the last 17 years, I've absolutely had no contact with her daughter and minimal contact with my ex. I send my child support payments every month, but I've had no interest in ever meeting her. I even requested my ex to not give her any information regarding me or how to contact me. My ex did send a few pictures of her when she was young, but she stopped after I told her I didn't want them. Well, she didn't keep her word again because 2 months ago, I received an actual handwritten letter from her daughter addressed, "Hi, Dad." When I read that, I honestly felt sick to my stomach. I immediately threw the letter away, not even bothering to read the rest of it. I never replied or responded to it. Well, turns out the letter was her heartfelt request to attend her high school graduation. She described in detail how much it would mean to her and told me that she's always been into programming and would be attending one of the top computer science programs in the country for college. I work as a software engineer, or at least I did before I moved up in my company. So apparently, her mother had told her how she must have gotten her talent with computers from me. As I said, I never read the letter, so I didn't know any of this beforehand, but I found the letter in my home office wastebasket, and I've read it now. Since I didn't read the letter initially, I didn't know about the graduation and obviously didn't attend. My ex called me the day of the ceremony and told me I had broken my daughter's heart by not attending, but I obviously had no idea what she was talking about. I told her as much, and she called me a deadbeat and an idiot before hanging up. I got annoyed and vented to one of my friends about the situation, and they said they kind of agreed with my ex. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. You made it clear you wanted to be child-free. She took that away from you. You made it clear you wanted no contact with this child she attempted to force on you. She knowingly violated that boundary. Heck, she was just as wrong for telling your kid anything about you. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can't force an unwilling parent to have a relationship with a child they didn't want. Yeah, I feel for the young woman, but OP washed his hands and made his vow on this clear years ago. The mom sounds like a piece of work, lying to OP to try and baby trap him and possibly telling her daughter stories of her deadbeat dad for years. You owe her nothing. I disagree. You were an idiot to the girl. None of this is her fault. And honestly, you should have anticipated this. She's been fed whatever story her mother told her and reached out in the hope she'd be her dad in some way. And her dad totally rejects her. You're an idiot for not attending. There is no reason to see her mother, but you could have read the letter and written back to decline and explain yourself. Your trauma doesn't give you the right to inflict trauma on this girl with no explanation. You can't control what story she gets fed, but the bare kindness to write a letter to explain why you haven't been there is pretty basic. The girl didn't ask to exist and deserves to know how you were victimized, so she understands you're not rejecting her and herself so much as avoiding someone who lied and violated you to create her. It won't heal her, but it may lessen the sting that your existence causes. And that's all you can do, but you should have and still should do it. My husband loves his buddy Steve. I would also love Steve a lot more if he wasn't always trying to give my cat human food when visiting. I've often explained it to him. Steve, do not give her anything. She's only allowed to have cat food. I've had to do this every time he's been in the house with food. Nevertheless, Steve persists. I came home yesterday, and Steve and my husband were throwing darts in the garage. Then they go out and return with some fast food, including a meal for me. I turn my back for one moment to get some plates, and when I turn around, I see Steve offering my cat a piece of garlic bread. I yell at him to stop it, grab his whole meal, and dump it in the trash. He calls me a witch and reaches for my meal. I grab it away and yell at him to get away from my cat until he's learned some manners. They go back out to the garage, and I overhear my husband trying to reason with him a bit, but he's not having it, and he storms out. Steve is angry. The husband understands where I'm at with him, always trying to feed the cat, but he's also annoyed and says I had no right to throw out his meal. I really don't want to see Steve in my house anytime soon, but at the very least, I don't want him there with any food until he learns to keep it to himself. Not the idiot. Garlic is famously poisonous to cats. What the actual heck? I don't know what Steve's problem is, but he should be permanently prohibited from entering your home until he apologizes for the insults and learns how to behave decently and respect the rights of the pet owner. I would include the husband in that decision as well. He's also an idiot for not setting the boundary. The entire thing about the cat is Steve's way of asserting himself over OP. He would be unable to do that if her husband put his foot down. OP, you have a husband problem, and please tell your guy that his not getting involved was the reason you finally had to do what you did. Is he a coward? I agree. And even if it wasn't literally poisonous, and even if human food was okay for cats, and it's not, the fact that Steve called her a witch in their home is crazy. That's a trash word to use against a woman. OP's husband should have shut that crap down immediately. Why does your husband even put up with Steve's behavior? He consistently disrespects you and your home by disobeying a straightforward request. If Steve needs help understanding that he needs to play by your rules in your home, he should never be welcome. Your husband ought to support you in this. I, 25 female, recently started dating my girlfriend, Alexandra, 29, a longtime acquaintance at work. We've been together for only 6 months, but I've truly never been happier. I had to go out with my cousin and ask Alex if she wanted to join me. She happily did. I'm originally Greek, so is my cousin. Sometimes we'd slide in a few words. Somewhere in the conversation, Alex started joining in. It was a moment of shock to me because she never mentioned she spoke Greek before. I was saying pretty basic things with my cousin then, but she'd heard me speak on the phone, cursed to myself, and never mentioned that she spoke it. I didn't say anything then, but once I got to my place with Alex, I called her out on it. She said she speaks multiple languages as a hobby, which wasn't a big deal. I made her count. There were 13 that she was fluent in. My point was, as my girlfriend, she should have told me earlier about this, and she heard my conversations around the house and never commented on them. They were mostly about my mom's difficult health situation, and she doesn't want that to be shared. She doesn't even tell my brother. I know because we have a special mother-daughter relationship. Edit. I only ever talked to my mom in Greek in front of Alexandra, mostly in the car while we were both in it. I explained to her that it's something about her health that she's not comfortable with me sharing. Also, my mom can't speak English. Am I the idiot? Sister, I'm a Greek woman and I must tell you, if I found out that my foreign partner spoke Greek, I'd be the happiest person in the world. The only reason you'd be unhappy about this is if you wanted a free pass to lie to her face about conversations you're having around her, or just the ability to crap talk about her to your friends or relatives without her understanding. You are the idiot because it seems that you're angry that you can no longer talk crap around her rather than that you didn't know about this hobby of hers. How did you have a girlfriend for 6 months and not know about her hobbies to know she spoke 13 languages fluently? Did you ever ask if she spoke another language? It seems super suspicious that you get triggered by this. Are you trying to hide things from her and worry she'll find out? Also, never assume that people can't understand you while speaking in front of them, whatever language you use. That's a really naive way to go about life. I, 30 female, and my friend group, females, is in the 27 to 33-year-old range for the most part. For reference, nobody has kids, and the only one dating someone with kids is Kenzie, 33. Kenzie's dating Jared, 35, a single dad with a son, kindergarten, Ned. Ned's mom has addiction issues and isn't really in the picture. I booked my 30th birthday weekend reservations at my favorite hot grill restaurant. I'm splashing out and paying for everyone, including our beer and the 2 cabs there and back from my place. Most are crashing at my place, and some people's partners and friends are picking them up. This was planned months ago. A week ago, Kenzie said Jared was going out of town for a work trip and she'd be watching Ned on my birthday weekend. She asked if she could bring Ned to my birthday. I said no, there's a hot grill, we'll be drinking, enough to need cabs, and I don't want a kid at my 30th. Kenzie said she'll stay sober and pay for Ned's meal, and all I have to do is move the party away from the grill, which I already reserved, to a regular table to keep Ned safe. I still said no. The whole point of the restaurant we're going to is the grill. Kenzie's now blowing up the group chat, saying I'm discriminating against her because of her family status. Fam, Kenzie's been dating Jared for 3 months, and this is not a child-friendly event. Frankly, I'm shocked Jared's trusting his kid to her for the weekend. No shade to Kenzie, but 3 months wouldn't be long enough for me to leave my cat with someone. Am I the idiot for refusing to move my party away from the grill and not allowing Kenzie to bring Ned to my 30th? Not the idiot. Speaking as someone with 4 kids, it's super weird that she wants to bring a kindergartner to a 30-year-old's birthday party where they know people are going to be drinking excessively. Your friend doesn't have a familial status. She's not a parent. She's the babysitter for her boyfriend, who's a parent. Also, speaking as a parent, it's super weird that they've only been dating for 3 months. Not only has she already met his kid, but he's leaving her alone with him for the weekend? Babysitter with benefits. Her family status after 3 months of dating? Just yikes. Is she usually this delusional? Don't change a thing. Stick to your guns, your adults-only party, your rules. Literally. You'll find out that Kenzie isn't really a friend. And maybe that's a really good thing to find out now. Wowza. OP, it's your birthday party. You can do whatever you want on it. You only turn 30 once. If your friend can't make it because she's babysitting, that's on her. That's not your issue. You do not have to bend to someone else's rules on your day of celebration. I hope you have a wonderful time. Drink lots of water and stay safe. My son Daniel, 28, has been married to Kathy, 28, for 4 years now, and they have 2 children. I have a younger daughter, Leah, 25, who's a single mom to Travis, pre-tween. Travis is autistic and has a lot of sensory issues. He receives therapies, but it's still a struggle. Everyone knows about his triggers and what we do to avoid them. While I've tried to be welcoming of Kathy, she's always been a little cold. I tried to give her the benefit of the doubt, as we are a very loud, extroverted family, and she's introverted. She has yet to make an effort to get to know us, despite our numerous attempts. Daniel has told us that her family is a lot different and isn't as warm, so we accept her personality. The only issue is, she's very cold to Travis. We're all firm with him and have boundaries, but Kathy finds his triggers ridiculous. Important info: Leah and Travis live with my husband and me. Every year at Christmas, we have a few close relatives over and host a Yankee swap with gag gifts. Last year, my sister-in-law was showing me her contribution. It was one of those singing Santas. Travis had seen this very one at the drugstore and had a meltdown over it. I said it would be okay. I'd just make sure Travis didn't pick that gift, and we'd tell whoever did pick it to please not press play. One person opened it. Travis saw it and instantly got on edge, but the person promised they wouldn't play it, and he calmed down. When it was Kathy's turn, she stole it. If you've never done a swap before, the point of the game is you either pick a new gift or steal someone else's if you like it better. She was sitting next to Travis at the time and pressed play. He had a meltdown and had to be brought out of the room. Kathy was laughing. I took her out of the room and asked her why she'd do that. She said it was just a joke, and she thought we were exaggerating. She then accused us of purposefully making Travis scared of things. We have no reason for doing this. Trust me, for his mental health, we wish these things didn't trigger him, but they do. I asked why it was so hard for her to accommodate her nephew. That's when she said that Travis soaks up all the attention, and it's not fair that Leah had a kid before them. She and Daniel then promptly left. While Daniel has apologized on behalf of Kathy, she's refused to do so. We've tried holding family meetings, but she won't attend. Leah has seen Daniel and his kids since, but won't see Kathy. After a few months of back and forth with Kathy, making it clear she wouldn't apologize, my husband and I decided Kathy's not welcome in our home until she does and is ready to treat Travis right. We'll still see them, but not in our home. Kathy and Daniel have found this unfair. They refuse to meet up for Mother's Day and won't come to Father's Day brunch, which is their choice, but they've made it clear that they only made it because we've excluded Kathy from events in our home. Am I the idiot? Edit. Leah got pregnant young. It wasn't planned. She and the father married after the fact, but he sadly passed when Travis was 2. That's when Leah moved back in with my husband and me. When Leah got pregnant, Kathy and Daniel were dating then, with serious plans to marry. Kathy said she was a little disappointed that they wouldn't be the ones to give us our first grandchild, as they were older, but we thought she'd gotten over it. Not the idiot. When it was Kathy's turn, she stole it and pressed play. This is a crucial point for me. She did this deliberately, even though she knew not to. Her lack of remorse afterward suggests that she would do something equally unpleasant again. Her behavior as an adult baffles me. I have a sister-in-law like this. For some reason, she always has to fight with my son. She's been this way since he was a toddler. He might be playing or watching TV, and she'll just come up and grab his toys away, or tell him how dumb his TV show is. She's in her 30s, by the way. We only see her once or twice a year because of this. Might I suggest never seeing her again? Your kids don't deserve to be bullied by an adult, even once a year. OP, Leah and Travis have been through enough. Purposely triggering an autistic kid because you're jealous of the attention he's getting is a 100% idiot move, and you should definitely hold firm on getting an apology directly from her to you and your daughter and grandson before she's allowed back. I'm sorry that this means you'll have a strained relationship with your son, but this is Kathy's fault. Kathy sounds like a child. It's not fair Leah had a kid first. What in the actual heck? She's absolutely jealous of Leah because she had the first grandbaby, and she's still not over it. Kathy needs counseling, and your son likely needs it too, so he can understand why he'd defend Kathy.